Hello, 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 and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion Blog. Hello, and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion Blog, first monthly podcast of the season here in the Springwell Social Club. I am joined by Kevin, Newcastle supporter, and Dean, a Burnley supporter. So I thought I'd start by asking everyone their views on Newcastle's summer, sort of the signings that have come in, obviously Rafa departing, Steve Bruce coming in, and the takeover that never happened. So I'll start with you, Kevin. What do you think about Newcastle's summer?
In what order?
Well, if we start with Rafa leaving, because that was the first thing that happened chronologically.
Yeah, I thought it was inevitable. I did predict it would happen way back in March, April time, so I wasn't surprised. Given Ashley's track record in backtracking on promises, I mean, twice previously he promised Rafa funds and
They never came.
Yeah, never came. The training ground scenario, you know, Rafa said after 3 years of promises they put a lick of paint on the training ground.
I read that one, yes.
It was inevitable for me that Rafa was leaving. I think in terms of transfers and the new manager coming in, firstly I think he's not a quality Premier League manager. I think in terms of the transfers he's been given, because I've got no doubt the club signed them and not him.
I don't know how much he's actually had input into them, to be honest.
Probably very little influence in my opinion. But I think he's got, in terms of a squad, probably a better squad than we had under Rafa last season.
I'd say so, yeah. They are strengthening.
I disagree.
Would you?
Well,
Why is that?
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
that's
Kev.
quite all right.
I just think, because I'm a Burnley fan surrounded by Geordies. I understand that you're all passionate and you can't let your passion, but in saying that, you've got rid of a Jose Perez.
Yes, top scorer last season.
And Rondon.
2 top scorers, 23 goals.
And you replaced them with 2 people. He spent the cash, you can't deny him that. But he replaced them with 2 people that were unproven, they were playing in the Premier League.
They are. So
You know, you look at his Joe Linton and his goal stats, they don't match up.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, and I watched him against Arsenal and he weren't great, to be fair, but
I take your point, Dean, but that's just 2 players. The rest of the squad, the nucleus of the squad, is exactly the same as last season.
Yes.
And I think, you know, hopefully, we're not spending £40 million on a player who's not going to be good enough. Hopefully they've identified his potential.
He's only done 23 today, in fact.
Well, yeah, and I think also maybe with the likes of Sam Maximum, maybe the jury's out. He's a bit of a maverick character.
he wears a Gucci headband.
does wear a
He wears a
Gucci
Gucci headband.
Well, it's
You know
got
what I
See how it goes, but
it's gone to a standard
think that-
headband since he's come to Newcastle.
Was it?
Yeah,
But I think
Mike
we've got
Ashley.
a
Sports
better,
Direct.
That's Mike Ashley
From
for
Sports
years,
Direct.
yes.
a better squad than we had last season, but I think we've got a much poorer manager. And I think going back to the game on Sunday, that bore out for me. The fact, he was clueless in his substitutions. The players themselves didn't know what they were doing. I also think it's worth mentioning that certain players have come out since Rafa left to say, well, it's much better now, the atmosphere is much better, the coaching is much better. Maybe because the manager's not drilling into them what they need to do. Maybe they've got more freedom, but it's not
less organisation.
less
But
organisation.
did also not score because
Well, it was a
fullback came
mistake.
on. A fullback came on and played centre midfield.
It was a
Yes.
mistake. Well, yes, but what does that tell you about the management situation that we're currently in? Certainly from what I viewed when I was watching the match, defensively they were nowhere near as organised as they were last season. Especially for that goal, because where was Sean Lascelles tracking Aubameyang, who was just left wide open in the middle.
Yeah.
But to be fair, sorry to interrupt, but to be fair, I look at it from a Burnley standpoint, and we're a village pub team, and most of my childhood with Division 4 football, but that our hopes for this season, I think we'll finish with Newcastle United, I really do.
Well, to be honest, I'd be tempted to agree with you. Certainly, as I say, I agree the squad is better, but
I just
with
think
the lack of
they're not-
direction.
Yeah, they're not going to be coached in the same way that they were coached last season. I think, in terms of the boycott, going back to Sunday again, for me, the guys who turn up week in, week out, all they're doing is ticking Ashley's box, and they're giving him a free rein to do what the hell he wants. Now, if I was Mike Ashley, I wouldn't sell the club. I know it doesn't matter what I do.
Why would it?
The fans are going to come back week in, week out.
Why would it? Because
So, in terms of the boycott, it's just a loser.
they were talking about how many people were going to turn up.
If you're gonna boycott, you've got to do it properly. You've got to have a full empty stadium, which of course there was 7,000 empty seats.
Well, allegedly, I mean,
The number could be.
figures, yeah.
They don't know where that season ticket holders. They don't know. But either way, it was still mostly full. We could see that from the TV cameras.
Yeah. And that's, regardless of what Mike Ashley does, that will happen week in, week out. So he can't lose, really, can he?
Oh, no.
And the fans themselves now are, almost fighting amongst each other. The ones who are boycotting on social media are calling the ones who are still going. And in some ways, I can understand why the ones who are still go. In some ways, because maybe the season ticket's been in the family for years, and they just go or they meet their mates for a pint.
It's like a regime. It's ingrained in their lifestyle.
It is,
really.
But at the same time, all they're doing is they're advocating Ashley's ownership of the club by doing that, by turning up week in, week out. They're giving him free rein to do what he wants, and unless that changes, nothing will change.
What was your views on the takeover that never happened for the Middle East? What was it, Sheikh Khalid bin Al Nahyan? I don't know exactly his name, because I've read recently that it was to do with some just publicity that was never going to happen. I've read that came out quite recently in the news. I don't know if you've heard anything of this, whether it was just to do with publicity.
I think it depends what you hear, what you read, and there must have been something happening there. There wouldn't have been so much publicity without something happening.
I disagree, Kev. I think Ashley's just great at PR. I think it's happened ever since my time in Newcastle in the North East. There's been times
where... So do
you
think he's created another fake takeover?
Definitely, 100%. He did it last year. It earns me money because I have a £10 bet every time. Because I know you're never going to... Why would Mike Ashley sell that football club? He's sucking it dry, he's getting free advertising, and the club's just going up in value every year. So why would he sell it?
I mean, you're right, the club is no more, no less than a platform for Sports Direct now.
Oh, of course,
and he's used the club to promote his other businesses.
Absolutely.
But is it any different to previous owners that we've had? I mean, all my lifetime we've complained about the ownership of Newcastle United. Even, you can go back to Sir John Hall and Freddie Shepherd. They were no angels either. And I think, Ashley seems to have a bee in his bonnet, because obviously when Sir John Hall sold the club, there was this £100 million loan that Ashley was unaware of because he didn't do due diligence.
You look at the investment with the previous chairman, though. I've looked from afar. You look at the previous investment. Splashing out on Shearer £15 million at the time, it was ridiculous. Michael Owen. People like that. So, you can call these other chairmen, but they were shopping on the top shelf, not the bargain basement like you're shopping now. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, the club wasn't on a very sound financial footing because they were spending the TV money that hadn't come in yet.
So what would you prefer? Would you prefer to see an exciting team and maybe...
It's got to be a balance of the two.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
But then, with that being said, though, obviously now Rafa is gone. Like, his tactics, to put it kindly, they weren't exactly exciting tactics, though. So, but he obviously won a lot of fans over, so... How does that come in? Would you rather keep Rafa and then keep the defensive tactics that?
Without a doubt. I think, I agree with you. He didn't play expansive football, but it was effective. I think you've got to look at...
Sorry, I'm going to be controversial when I say this now. Sorry, Kev, for interrupting, but Rafa Benitez, I think, was the most overpaid person ever. And I know it's not going to go down well.
You're entitled to your opinion.
On this or anything like that.
This is what I think this is for.
Sean Dyche, my manager, would have done a better job with Newcastle United than Rafa Benitez would have done. You bought into he won a European Cup, and you all got rigged excited because you had this big name on a massive wage. Let's not forget. So
what was it?
6 million a year.
Yeah, he's doubled the wage now in Shanghai or China.
Yeah, but £6 million a year. So I don't know where he ranked in terms of wages in terms of Premier League managers, but what he was doing effectively was just keeping you up.
Yeah.
Whereas Sean Dyche could have done exactly the same thing, and so could a lot of managers.
And what you're saying is right, because whilst I haven't got any time at all for what Ashley's done to the club, I think Rafa is a very shrewd, as well as being a fantastic manager, he's a very shrewd politician. Every club he's gone to, he plays the fans, and the fans come on his side.
He appeased the fans.
The only time it hasn't happened was obviously Chelsea, but for obvious reasons with the history with Liverpool.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very shrewd politician, Rafa. He's no mug.
Newcastle United for me, growing up, was always that. You talk about your Ginolas and everything else like that. To me, how the fans took to Rafa Benitez, it was anti-football. It was anti-football, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, but it was
You know,
effective.
he would settle for a 3-0 defeat away from home. He would do.
No, he'd rather settle for a 1-0 or 2-1 defeat than a 5-0
and save the goal difference, because that's what the point could
He
be.
was clever because he picked his games or whatever, but I don't think he was the messiah by any stretch. Nowhere near.
No, but I think
Steve Bruce,
with the squad he had,
I think
for me, he did a fantastic job.
He could have became the messiah had he had more time, had he had more money, perhaps. Like, people mentioned him in the same sentence as Robson and Keane, obviously, that he's nowhere got to the sort of that stage yet because of how long he was at the club in comparison to those two, but he certainly, I think, if he'd been given longer, or if he'd stayed longer and been given more money, things could have happened. But of course, that's Mike Ashley, and he's gone now. We have to move on.
Well, I think, for me, I disagree with something you just said there. I think Rafa, for me, is the best manager we've had at the club, and I include Sir Bobby Robson and Kevin Keegan in that. Certainly, tactically.
Well, tactically, yes, I mean, because Kevin Keegan's football was.
It was probably the most exciting football we've seen.
But he got dealt a good hand because there were money there.
Had the money, yeah.
He had the money there, and he had the players as well. So I get that.
So, but how could Rafa play any different style of football to what he played last season with that squad of players?
He was limited.
Well, to me, he could have done better.
But how could he do better with that squad of players?
Well, I look at when we finished 7th. Burnley finished 7th a couple of years ago. I think Newcastle United had a better side than us in terms of players. 100%.
But does the Premier League not grow stronger every year? The opposition gets.
No, what I'm saying is that season, them two teams where you were struggling relegation and we finished 7th. I think we had the better. I think you had the better team than us. Definitely.
To be fair, in the season we went down last, it is quite somewhat of a shock. But I had a look at the team recently that we had when we went down under McLaren, then briefly Benitez obviously wasn't able to save us. You know, we had Wijnaldum, Sissoko, Townsend, Jan Matt, they had a real, and John Joe Shelby was there as well, a real good group of players, and the fact that we went down, obviously Rafa wasn't able to save us, but yeah, I could agree with that to an extent. Yeah, we did certainly have a good team then, possibly better than what Burnley had, yeah.
Definitely better than what Burnley had. We finished 7th and you went down.
Yeah, on paper.
On paper. So is that down to the manager though, Kev? So you've got a better team on
I
paper.
think that season you finished 7th, Rafa only came in for the last 8 games of the season or whatever it was. So you kind of, and worked with the players as best he could.
Exactly.
And the fact that he stayed, I mean, that surprised most people, that he signed a new 3-year contract, got us promoted at the first attempt, and then kept us up effectively for 2 more seasons.
And not just we were mid-table.
£6 million.
And I think the investment, if we had either new owners or the current owner was prepared to back Rafa's judgment, I think he would have gone down in history as the best manager ever. But the fact that hasn't happened now, like you say, we've got to move on.
Yeah, I've got to move on. We've got Steve Bruce is now at the helm, and with that being said, what do you see as happening this season? Do you think it'll be a relegation fight in mid-table?
I think I'll be surprised if we finish mid-table. I think I'll be pleased if we stay up. I think we're going to be in a relegation dogfight all season. I think.
Along with who would you say?
I would say with Sheffield United, albeit they had a draw the weekend, and that was the first game of the season. But certainly Sheffield United. I think Norwich will surprise a few.
Don't say Burnley.
No, I think Burnley might be down there. Nah. Let's be honest. Who else? Yeah. I think Brighton.
Brighton,
I know. He's on the weekend. But again, it's going to be the same teams that were there last season. Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going off piece, so to speak. But can I ask you a question? Why would, when you got offered Rondon for £15 million, why would you go out and spend £40 million on someone who's completely unproven?
Well, I think there'll be massive
that's my
clauses. I think the £40 million transfer fee, you'll have a clause in someone.
My
future transfer.
His policy is not over 30, isn't it?
His policy is buy them young, sell them on for profit later on.
Yeah.
And of course, Rondon was already in his 30s, so that's probably why he didn't want to. I think
Rondon had just turned 30 and he was after a 5-year contract, and I think the club just weren't prepared to. And I can understand that as well.
So do you think Newcastle United have got enough to stay up this season?
As a team, yes. With the manager that we have, like Steve Bruce, local lad. Obviously, I wish him all the best. Wasn't the person I wanted.
You got a manager who can get you out of the Championship anyway.
Well, yes.
But I mean, if you look at his track record in the Premier League, it isn't the best.
It's not,
to say the least. So I think
Championship, he does all right, to be fair. But that's not where we want to be, of course. But I think, as I said, I think the squad we have is good enough. Certainly, as you said before, the nucleus, the core is still there from last season, the season before that, and we've added to that more significantly than we have in the past couple of windows. Certainly, it's just whether the direction and the managing will correlate with that and go hand in hand. Because if it doesn't, then it could be disastrous. Like as we said before, we had a fantastic on-paper team, you know, back in 2015-16 with all those players I've mentioned before. But then we had Steve McLaren and we went down.
Yeah. So I think it's down to the
well, the reason why I'm sat here, Kev, is because all the way through the 90s, you know, born in the 80s, so all the way through the 90s and everything else like that, Newcastle United is an attacking, brilliant team. It's quite saddening to say that Burnley, and I'm not gloating any stretch, we're actually on par.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A town of 70,000 people.
Yeah.
Compared to a city, and before I moved to Newcastle, I didn't realise. I seen it on the telly, but I didn't realise how big a thing it were.
Yeah.
It's a religion, man. It's a cult.
It is a religion.
You're like a cult, man.
And again, that's why the fans won't boycott. You know,
Because it's
in their blood. You know, it's the routine. They meet up with their pals for a few beers on a Saturday afternoon. But by doing that, they can't see all they're doing is they're lining his pocket and basically ticking his box to say, carry on, Mike, do what you're doing.
It's not just your Burnleys, you've got your Bournemouths, your Brightons and stuff like that. They shouldn't be even in the same breath as Newcastle United, but we are. I mean, they've probably got better sides.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's not just the lack of investment in players though. If you look at the facilities in the training ground, you know, our training ground is so dilapidated. It's a joke. It really is. And clubs like Brighton in particular have just spent fortunes.
Yeah.
Burnley, we've got a great academy. We spent £8 million. We've got Dwight McNeil. We've got all these young players already coming through the academy.
We're not even in the Championship when it comes to the academy. We're in League One. You know, so we need the investment has to happen throughout the club, and that's what Rafa was advocating. You know, to invest in the training ground, to invest in the young players. Yeah, but I think it was never going to happen. So
yes,
we'll just have to see how
things go. Yeah. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next month. And how are the lads?
How are the lads? Dean?
How are the lads?